Hello, 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 hello. It's my YouTubeversary. YouTubeversary. So today is my YouTube 3-year YouTube bursary. If I had air horns, I would be playing them right now. Okay. Um, so I wanted to just come on and kind of process the fact that it's been 3 years, but also I need to make sure that everything is working properly because I usually don't stream directly from YouTube. I usually stream over from StreamYard. So this is my first time like actually just going live on YouTube and being like, what's up? But also it's my YouTube versary. And I'm really excited about that. So 3 years ago, I started this journey and I bust up on the scene as a YouTuber. And I honestly wasn't even really taking it seriously. I was doing it because I had some things that I needed to talk about. So hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, guys. I need to share this link with my Patreon. Okay. All right. So yeah, I bust up on the scene as a YouTuber in what was that? This is 20 what year is this? 2025. So that was 2022. I was living in Mexico City. So for anyone who may be new to me, hi. My name is Kimberland, and I actually live outside the US. I left the US in October of 2021. I live in Colombia in South America. And that's how this YouTube journey came about. So I experienced some very traumatic things in the educational landscape when I was living in Pennsylvania. And I left the US to save my life and to give myself an opportunity to heal from everything I had been through and just kind of process what I wanted to do with the next phase of my life. So I work in education. I'm a school improvement specialist. I specialize in school climate and culture. And basically, I help schools create safe and culturally competent spaces for children and families and teachers. And if you have been paying attention to anything that's been happening in the US lately, then you would know that all of those types of things are illegal now. So when I was working with the Department of Education, I was uncovering like all this stuff, and it was wild and it was crazy. And I'm talking about it, and they didn't like that. So they laid us all off, and with that layoff, I decided to leave and to pursue healing. So, as I was trying to think about how I wanted to share my story, how I wanted to document it, how I wanted to track history as it was happening, I thought that being on YouTube would be a really great idea. So actually, yesterday was my official, like, I started the page. And then today was my official, this is my first video that I'm posting. And that first video was an affirmation video. And it really was me speaking back into myself because things were wild in Pennsylvania, and so much of my understanding of who I was had been eroded. And it was a lot to process. So I wanted to help myself by creating these affirmations. So I created these affirmations. I created the affirmation video, and that's the very first video that I posted here on the page. It's called Brown Girl Affirmations. I would love for you to go and listen to it. And I've actually been getting led back to that affirmation video lately because, I mean, it's nothing like hearing yourself talk to yourself and hearing yourself affirm yourself. But then also for me, the added dynamic is, again, this is personal. Like, these were the things that I was saying to myself at that time when I was really trying to heal and unpack all the trauma that I had been through. So that is where this YouTube journey started, right? So I posted that video, and then later on in that year, I decided that I wanted to start talking about the specific things that happened. So I created a series called School Improvement in Pennsylvania, and I was sharing receipts. My best friend says often people lie, receipts don't. And so I wanted people to be able to see with their own eyes what I had experienced, to make their own conclusions about what had happened. Like, I want y'all to see I got the beautiful bean footage. So that's what I did. And I set out on this series of talking about school improvement in Pennsylvania. I think there are 7 episodes for that season. And what was happening, though, behind the scenes, is the good people in Pennsylvania found out that I was out here telling the business. So they did everything that they could to get my videos taken down. They actually got my first 2 videos taken down, which was the original HR report. Even though I still have it, but they got it taken down off of YouTube. And they tried to get my page completely taken down. It was a lot. It was a lot that was happening behind the scenes. And so this was in like November, December of 2022. So I was constantly like being bombarded with stuff and people reaching out to me, even pretending like they wanted to help, but it was really to get information, to get me to be quiet. Like, it was a lot. I don't know if I've still fully processed everything that happened during that time. But for me, when I get overwhelmed and when I'm overstimulated and when things are a lot, I shut down. So communication is one of the first things to go. I actually still have videos that I never posted of when I was with the Department of Education. Is Chester County Intermediate Unit is the actual organization. But I have videos of myself trying to process what was happening, and I had developed a stutter. I was struggling at this point to write and type. So I had started recording myself so that I had record of what was happening to me, and how like my brain was like just glitching at times, and I would just lose words and like all of this. And side note, I was going through all of that. I probably was operating at like 12% of my capacity at that time. And I was still doing more and better than people giving their 100%. Okay. So, having said that, I want you to understand the level of dysfunction and the level of ignorance and just plain out shouldn't have been in the room people that were there doing this work. um but anyway, so I had started recording myself, and I was struggling to communicate. So when I get overwhelmed, I be quiet because I got to figure out like what's happening, and I go very much internal. So when that happened, the first thing, of course, that I had to shut down was the YouTube page, because that was the source of everything that was happening. And I just stopped. Like, I was just like, okay, where I said what I had to say, which I'm also known for doing that. If you Google me, there are articles that you can find about various things dealing with educational advocacy. And I'm pretty much a person, I said what I said, and I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. So That's it. Like, I don't have nothing else to say about it. So I also kind of felt like that. I felt like I had said enough of what I needed to say, and I didn't want to keep re-traumatizing myself, because as I'm watching myself on these videos, I'm remembering being in those spaces, and I'm remembering trying to understand what was happening, because I was so confused. Like, I thought we were here to help children. Like, what is going on? And we're not helping children. Like, what is, I don't under, we're hurting children. Wait, what is happening? Like, it was a lot that I was trying to process and stuff. So I felt every time I watched one of those videos, I was taking myself back there, and it got really, really difficult, and they wanted me to shut up. So I kind of shut down the page, and I said, I have to have a safe place to be able to talk about things, but clearly I can't share some things publicly, or I need to do it in a better and different way, or whatever. Because I wasn't worried about none of that. Okay. The only thing I knew is that I had permission to record, and I was finna spill all the beans. Okay. All of them. So I also made a decision during that time that I wanted to feel joy, and I wanted to give myself the gift of feeling joy. So around that time, I also left Mexico City and I moved here to Colombia. And there's a time, I have special emojis that I use and that we use in my communities. And one of those emojis is the crayon. And the reason that the crayon is um special to me is because all that time when I was living in Pennsylvania, so this is 2020, 2021, transitioning out of the US into Mexico 2022, things were very, very black and white for me. Even my, like, it's like I was looking through at the world through black and white glasses. Um, Even my wardrobe was black and white. Like, it was black, white, denim, and army green were the colors that I was wearing. And when I decided that I wanted to intentionally pursue joy and think through what that looked like for me, I decided I wanted to start living my life in color. So I chose the crayon as my emoji, and just I'm coloring the fuck out of my life. Like, that's what I decided I wanted to do. So then there was kind of like a shift over here on the YouTubes, because I stopped talking about the things that had happened to me in education, and I started a professional frolicker. And I really was like, I'm taking field trips and I'm just going different places, and I want to show you all because I'm happy, and life is so beautiful. During that same time, I am a life coach. So I'm an intuitive melanated life coach. And side note, for anybody who has ever thought about being a life coach, I do certify life coaches, but this is what I want to say. Just because you become a life coach doesn't mean that life stops happening. What happens is you develop skills to be able to not crash as deeply, but we're still humans, even with therapists. Like, therapists also have, or should have, therapists, because you are still living within your own life, right? So anyway, I brought that up because I had decided that I was going to create my own life coach certification program. And with life coaching, it is not like mental health specialists. With life coaching, there is no overarching entity that has mandates about what life coaching has to look like. It really is up to you to find a program that aligns with where you are in life and what you want to get out of your life coaching experience and what you want it to look like moving forward. So, and also, I'm an educator. I write curriculum for a living. Like, that's what my degree is in, curriculum and instruction. And so I know how to do that well. actually. I've written curriculums all across the country. So I know that I know how to do that. So I was like, who better to help people to understand how to go on this journey, but also to help people to understand how to develop their own life coaching curriculum that actually has tenets of good curriculum writing, because there's a way that you write a curriculum. It's a process. And I train people how to do that. Right. So anyway, so I started doing that. And during that same time, so this is 2023, and it was beautiful. I certified 5 intuitive melanated life coaches, and they're all over the world. And it was the most beautiful experience. And after that, I had gotten some work. So some of you all may also know me from Beautiful Brown Girls. And I had 2 talk shows on the platform called Beautiful Brown Girls for 6 years, and very much was kind of like the forward face of the brand, and also of like live streaming and like podcasting, like type of things or whatever. So I had been doing this for quite a while, of appearing on the internet and using my platform in order to affect change and all the things. So anyway, through Beautiful Brown Girls, I wound up getting an opportunity to host a book tour stop in Miami, and this was in July of 2023. So you all may or may not be familiar with Dr. Joy from Therapy for Black Girls. She wrote a book called Sisterhood Heals. Phenomenal book, by the way. I'll make sure to put the link in the description. Like, it's a really, really good book. And they reached out and they were like, hey, can you host the book tour stop in Miami? We would love to have you. We've been following you. Like, this would be great. So I'm like, oh my God, I would love to. This is amazing. Right. So I jump on a plane, I get to Miami, and I meet Dr. Joy, and I meet the ladies that were there. And it was just such a beautiful experience. And then I also was staying in the city for a little while, and I was confronted with the ugliness of the United States. And I was having a difficult time processing it, because I told you I was living in Mexico. And then, so I started out living in Playa del Carmen. And then I moved to Mexico City. I took a bus 21 hours across the country from Playa del Carmen to Mexico City, because I wanted to see what it would be like for somebody who was just a regular Mexican who needed to move across the country. Like, what would that look like? So that's what I did. And they took such good care of me, of making sure that every time we stopped for food, we stopped to clean the bus, like whatever. That bus driver was like, La Ciudad de Mexico. And I was like, see, because my Spanish was really, really trash at the time. But they took really, really good care of me. And the same when I moved to Colombia, I had so many experiences of people just showing up and being so kind to me, even as I was trying to learn the language and I was trying to understand the culture. Like, they were just so kind to me. And then I came back to the US, and I'm watching people be so ugly to other people just because they don't speak English. And it was really difficult for me to process that. So there was a situation that happened in Target, and that was wild. And then I walked out of the Target and saw a man get arrested. It was a lot. Like, that trip was just a lot. And it started this process of kind of breaking down, or further breaking down, what I had thought of this country that I was born in this country that I thought that I loved. Like, it was very, very paradigm shifting, if you will, world shaking. It was a lot to really process. So I did that trip, and then I took another trip after that, directly after, to St. Martin for Beautiful Brown Girls. And that was also beautiful, but also I was working. So I still hadn't really processed anything that happened. And then I finally got back home to Colombia. But I have been asked by a company that I contract with, that I do professional development with, if I could go back to the US in a couple weeks for another contract. They were like, "Oh, hands on deck, like we need everybody, right?" So then I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, tag me in." And when I got back, remember I told you when I struggle, when things are difficult for me, the processing and the brain stops. And it's not just me. Let me just pause there. It's for people. When we are in survival mode, our brain is not able to biologically access the part of our brain that is in control of decision making and executive functioning and creativity and learning, that lives in the top part of our brain. So when we're in survival mode, we're in the bottom part of our brain, and all we're asking, the question that we're asking is, am I safe? Am I safe? That's the only thing that we're concerned with. So at this time, I was needing to do a lot of logistics because I had braces at the time. So it was like I needed to go to Mexico, but then I was just going to leave from Mexico to go back to the US and do things. It was a lot. And I just couldn't get my shit together. I was trying to get it together, but I just couldn't. So I realized that I was struggling. Like I was like, something ain't right. I don't know. I don't really know what's happening. Um, And thank you for that comment. Um, so yeah, I didn't really know what was happening, and I was just trying to. I knew enough to know that I wasn't okay because I had just gone through the situation in Pennsylvania. So I was like, okay, but like, what is happening? I don't understand why. So this was July 25th of 2023. I woke up and I'm like just pleading to God, like, just help me understand like what is happening. And God told me to go and get in the shower. So the shower is the place where I meet God and where we have our private, quiet time and downloads and all the things. Like the shower is that place for me. And I got into the shower and I immediately felt God's presence. And I was like, yo, my boy, where you been, dog? Like things been wild out here. Like what's happening? And in that shower, I struggle with what to call it because at times I've called it a mental health crisis. At other times I've called it a spiritual awakening. At other times I've called it burnout. But basically what happened is Jesus took the wheel. Okay, that's what happened. And I was able to piece together the understanding that I wasn't okay. Like my brain was like, girl, hey, sis, I've been giving you all them warnings. And guess what? Today I'm turning off the lights. They're done, off, finished. Don't care that you paid the bill. Disconnected today. Okay. It was like that. Um, and that was wild because I have always been very capable of the got the time on task, the things that got to do, the things that got things that got to get done. Like I had been really, really great at that. And I was sitting in a place where my brain felt broken and I just didn't know, what do you do now? Like how this work, it was really interesting. And when that happened, it forced me to sit down. I could not work, even though I tried to work a little bit, just a little bit. And my therapist was like, I I know I said don't work. So I stopped completely. And in that quiet time, it's interesting how many things can bubble to the surface that we didn't realize that we were carrying, that we were stuffing, that we were dragging. Um, when you don't have anything to do, there is a lot that can come about. And I started to like take a moment to just be like, wait a minute. I live in Colombia. Like, and I know that probably sounds crazy, but I just be doing stuff, not like that, not like it's reckless, but like I just be doing stuff and it's normal for me. So I don't think about it like it's a big deal. It's like this is what I need to do to be able to bring myself peace or joy or whatever. So that's what I'm gonna do. But I don't necessarily be processing it. So I'm sitting in my closet for weeks just looking out the window and looking at the beautiful mountains and watching the rain wash the city and just appreciating that I actually live in Colombia. And in that, it caused me to go back over my life and like think through like all of these things that I had lived through and how am I even here? It was a lot of conversation like, yeah, this was bound to happen, sis. It's been a lot. Life has been a lot. So yeah, you need this break. It was a lot of that. But it also let me know that I could not go back to the same life that I had been living, no matter how much I wanted to. That's done. That is done. So in that time, I was doing a lot of things on YouTube, but unlisted because I have retreated to my Patreon, and that was my place, like where I would talk about the things that were happening. And I went over to TikTok for a little bit and started kind of processing because I had gotten back on medication and I was like, I can't feel like this is wild. So like I kind of talked about that a little bit, but I really didn't know what to do with all the things. And along this time, God had been telling me, because remember, I struggled to communicate, right? So God had been telling me to start recording myself. So I started recording myself just around the time before I even took the trip to Miami. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was creating a podcast. And eventually, somewhere in that, I say something like, I guess this is a thing now. Like, I guess we're gonna do this. Okay. Hi, guys. Whoever I'm talking to, or I'll say things like, I don't know where this is gonna end up, and I don't know where this is gonna go, but here I am. Um, so I started recording that, and it was so cathartic to talk about what I was feeling because I be having a lot of thoughts. That's the thing. Even when I get to a place of where things feel really difficult and I'm struggling to communicate, I still be having a lot of thoughts. So this was giving me a way to get those thoughts out. So on the page, the podcast, Minding My Black Ass Business Season 1, is about that journey and the things that I was talking through and a lot of the background. At the time, I was also finding out that I am neurodivergent. And now I get it. I don't know how nobody knew. But also, our understanding of what neurodivergence means is developing every day. And just for the sake of defining it, so neurodivergence basically is a blanket term that discusses differences in how our brains work. And all sorts of things are in the bucket of neurodivergence. So there is autism, ADHD, ADD, um, PTSD, trauma, and various other things, dyslexia, body dysmorphia, eating disorders. There are so many different types of things that kind of go into this bucket of neurodivergence. So, anyway, I was figuring out that I was neurodivergent during that time. And I had my trauma therapist, the same one who was like, I told you not to work. She was like, you have to start making accommodations for yourself in order for you to be successful, because I was trying to get back to who I was. Like, I used to be able to do da da da. And she was like, girl, that's nice. Also, gone, gone. That doesn't exist anymore. So you've got to find a way to be at peace now. So that journey has kind of been tracked and logged over this time as I'm talking. That's how the series Hi, I'm Kim came about. And there were so many things that I was doing behind the scenes that I started being like, I'm gonna just have to release this next year because so much time had passed since the things had happened. So, when you're seeing the vlogs that are on my page, Hi, I'm Kim, those vlogs are from a year ago. I decided to do my current vlogs within my Patreon because, again, that was my safe place to be able to go when the block was high over here on YouTube because they wanted me to stop talking about all the things that they were doing. So, just kind of the way that things happened is my right now vlogs live over on Patreon. And I would love for you to join me over there. It's only $5 a month. I recommend that you sign up on a computer because that way I hear that Apple has some extra fees that they charge that I do not get. But I would love for you to join me on Patreon because that is where my active and current life is being lived. But I also understand that everybody don't have $5 a month, and I get it. I get it. So if you're like, girl, I still want to support you, but I don't have that, I still feel like it's important to put out that content because all the stuff that I'm talking about, that's real stuff that I was talking about and real stuff that I had to figure out. And what I have heard, just like a comment earlier, that it helps because a lot of times people don't talk about this stuff and you think that you're by yourself and that you're figuring everything out by yourself, and you're not. There are other people who can relate. We just often do a poor job of making ourselves visible to be able to help the people that are looking for us. So, having said that, fast forwarding to 2025 and where we are now, my YouTube motto has kind of become be visible, be visible. And that's what I'm working on is how to do that and what that looks like. So whether that is more lives and coming on and just chatting it up, or whether that is facilitating learning experiences. So for instance, I told you I'm an educator, but also I help people leave the US and move abroad. So if that is something that is perking your ear, that's a space that can be created to have those conversations because ain't no time like right now to get up out of there. And I've helped quite a few people get out. There are people in Croatia, in Belize, in Barbados, here in Colombia, in Mexico. I've helped people get out. So if that is something that you're thinking about, please go to findingpeaceabroad.com and schedule some time with me because I can help you. But also I've been thinking about just hosting some chats because there's a lot that's happening and things are shifting quickly. So if anyone is listening and you're saying to yourself, I need some of that peace, please, please do take some time to holler at me. So back on track was now. So now be more visible. I am starting season 2 of the Minding My Black Ass Business podcast. So that is the solo podcast for me to talk about the things that are happening in my life here on the brand. You can also see updates about my cousin, Kalanda, Content Kalanda. She is out here frolicking and embracing this digital nomad life and all of that. So she's also documenting her journey here on Minding My Black Ass Business. But the podcast is my space to be able to talk about things as the founder. So I will be reactivating that. And I hope that you all will listen about the things. And the things could be all kinds of things. It could be things all the way from shower thoughts, because I be having a bunch of them in the shower, or unpacking current events that are happening. I try my best to not watch the news. But it is still important to me to kind of keep a pulse of what's happening in the US, because there are many of you there that I care about that are there, and I want to do what I can to be able to help. So sometimes I do be having stuff to say because it be a lot. So I figure what better place to put it at, than on the podcast. So that's what it'll be. And you can look for that next month coming out. So I'm really excited about that. And then the last thing is I'm trying to get monetized, y'all. Okay. And I need your help. So we crossed the threshold of the largest thing is getting 1,000 subscribers. So we did that. Yay. We're at like 1,140, I want to say, that I saw today. So also, if you're still here, please do take a moment to subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really does help. But the other part of qualifying is watch hours. So that means that people are actually playing the content. So right now we have a challenge going. You know how, like, when the kids be at school and they be like, I'm gonna do so many laps for cancer or something, like whatever, and they walk around the track so many times for the pledges that they have. We're doing that with a remix. Okay. We're doing pledge hours. So how many hours can you pledge to help us get our watch hours up? I will say our watch hours are up 200% when I looked at it the other day. Okay. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate you very, very much. Okay. But yeah, if you can watch a minimum of 2 hours. And when I'm saying watch, I'm also using that loosely. That don't mean that your eyeballs got to be glued to the screen. Okay. You might just have it on. And that is okay. That still counts. But yeah, if you all can pledge at least 2 hours to play our videos, that will help greatly as I and we continue on this YouTube journey. I am actually in the process of actively trying to stay here in Colombia. So that is something that I may be sharing from time to time. I do not see myself coming back to the United States. If you had that question in your mind, the answer is no. And I don't know why you still there. Okay. But no, I won't be coming back to the US anytime in the near future. So I will be logging that journey of what that looks like and what that sounds like. And I'm getting ready for a big transition to happen this summer. So I will also be logging those things. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. I thank you for receiving. I thank you for liking and sharing and commenting. I'm just very grateful that I'm still here, one, but two, that I have the opportunity to be able to reach people who are not in my immediate touch zone, and that my story and the experiences that I have had are able to help somebody. That's why I do this. So please do, again, like, comment, subscribe. You can find me everywheres on the internet. If you search Kimberlyn Jackson, have a good time. On the Googles, I tell people to Google me often. It's a rabbit hole over there. But KimberlynJackson.com is where my blogs live. So I would love for you to check those out. I started blogging in 2017, way before this journey started. That was the first place that I started finding my voice. So my blogs are on KimberlynJackson.com. If you want to know more about Discover Your Destiny, you can go to dyd25.com and you'll be able to get information there. And then Minding My Black Ass Business. Minding My Black Ass Business on all platforms, on the Instagrams, here on the YouTubes, the TikToks, and the website, because we have merch. Okay. And now ain't no time like the present for you to be like, hey, you know what I'm doing? Drinking water and minding my black ass business. Okay. Because you see that the skin be glowing. Okay. Hey, come get some of this. Okay. Um, all right, y'all. I'm done. I'm just sitting here rambling. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye.